Imagine waking up one day, maybe washed up on a beach, and everything you thought you knew about your size, your scale in the world is just completely flipped.
It's a really disorienting idea, isn't it? That feeling is exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at Jonathan Swift's classic, Gulliver's Travels.
Yeah, a book that's been around forever, it feels like, published way back in 1726.
Hey, and Swift, well, his main goal was actually pretty biting satire. He was taking aim at European politics, society, even human nature itself.
But the funny thing is, kids absolutely loved it almost immediately. They saw these wonderful adventures, these incredible new worlds. The satire kind of flew over their heads, at least initially.
Exactly, and that dual nature is fascinating. How did Swift pull that off? Layering sharp critique under a story that's just, well, a fantastic adventure.
So our mission today is to really unpack that core story. We'll focus on the plot, the absolutely wild experiences of the main character, Lemuel Gulliver.
And explore what these journeys, these shifts in perspective really tell us about, how we see the world and maybe human folly, too.
Okay, let's start with the man himself, Lemuel Gulliver. Who is he?
Well, the book introduces him as a surgeon, so a practical guy, skilled, but he also loves learning about navigation, mathematics.
And he's got this strong belief, almost a conviction, that his fortune is out there in travel.
Definitely. And he's good with languages, which turns out to be pretty crucial later on. He tries his hand at being a surgeon back home, but things don't go so well.
Right, a string of misfortunes, as the book puts it.
Yeah.
Which pushes him back to his first love, the sea.
He decides to go again, accepts an offer on a ship, the Antelope, sailing from Bristol, May 1699, and that decision, well, that kicks everything off.
And almost immediately disaster strikes. A violent storm hits.
Yeah, pushes them way off course, northwest of Van Diemen's Land, that's Tasmania now. The ship hits a rock, splits apart, just chaos.
Gulliver and a few others manage to get into a small boat.
But it doesn't last long. The boat overturns. He's left adrift, completely alone, at the mercy of the sea.
And that's how he ends up in Lilliput. Part one of his travels, the world in miniature.
Exactly. He washes ashore, totally exhausted. And when he wakes up,
He can't move. He finds himself tied down by hundreds, maybe thousands of tiny threads and surrounded by these little people.
human creatures, the book says, but not 6 inches high. Armed with tiny bows and arrows, imagine the shock.
It must have been terrifying and utterly bizarre. Suddenly, he's this massive giant.
His first instinct is to roar, which scares them off briefly. But they come back. He struggles a bit.
And they shoot him with these tiny arrows. He says they felt like needles pricking him.
Which is when he realizes, okay, maybe being huge isn't the advantage here. He decides the smart move is to just lie still.
A good call. Shows he can adapt at least a little. But then the reaction shifts, doesn't it? From fear to resourcefulness.
Totally. They show this incredible ingenuity. They build a little stage next to him just so their officials can get a better look and try to communicate.
And they figure out he needs food. They bring him meat that's smaller than a lark's wing, bread the size of musket balls.
Which he just pops in his mouth, 2 or 3 at a time. And they give him wine, or something like it, in these tiny barrels, hogsheads, that hold maybe half a pint each.
He drinks several of them. And they're just watching him with, as Swift puts it, 1,000 marks of wonder and astonishment.
It really shows how organized they are. They figure out how to feed this giant thing that washed up on their shore, and then they decide to move him.
To the capital city. How do they even manage that?
It's amazing. They give him some kind of drink laced with a superfluous medicine, knocks him right out.
Ah, smart.
Then they bring this huge wooden platform, an engine they call it, and it takes 1,500 of their biggest horses, each maybe 4.5 inches high, to drag this thing with Gulliver on it 1/2 mile to the city.
1,500 horses. The logistics are just mind-blowing. So he arrives in the capital. Where does he live? You can't exactly put him in a normal house.
No. They house him in the largest building they have, which happens to be an old, unused temple. The gate is maybe 4 feet high, so he can crawl in.
And they chain him up.
Oh, yeah. With 91 tiny chains, like for a watch, fastened to his leg with 36 padlocks, just to be safe.
So he's basically imprisoned, but also a tourist attraction.
Absolutely. The book says over 100,000 people come out from the city and surrounding areas just to stare at him. They even have to issue a proclamation telling people not to climb on him.
That's kind of funny, actually. How did he start communicating? He mentioned knowing languages.
He tries everything: High Dutch, Low Dutch, Latin, French, Spanish, Italian. Nothing works. Their language is totally unique.
So sign language at first.
Pretty much gestures, but one of the most fascinating bits is the pocket search. The emperor orders his officers to search Gulliver's pockets.
What do they find? Or rather, how do they describe what they find?
That's the brilliant part. His snuff box is a silver chest. His comb, a strange sort of engine. His pocket watch is this amazing, wonderful kind of engine attached to a great silver chain, and they hear it ticking. They call it his oracle, thinking it must be his god or advisor.
Wow. It completely reframes everyday objects, seeing them through their eyes.
Exactly, and his pistol that terrifies them when he fires it in the air. They just can't comprehend that kind of power and noise.
So he's living there, chained up, being studied. What about Lilliputian society itself? Swift uses it for satire, right?
Oh, absolutely. You see it in their politics and court life, for instance, how people get high office.
The rope dancing.
Yes, candidates have to dance on a tightrope. Whoever jumps highest without falling gets the job. It's Swift mocking how people in England got positions through flattery and, well, risky political maneuvering, not necessarily skill.
And there's another game, leaping and creeping under a stick.
Right, awarded with colored silk threads. Again, it's about agility and pleasing the emperor, not competence. Gulliver even becomes part of the entertainment pyramid. He stretches out his handkerchief, and their cavalry performs exercises on it.
He's like a living playground. But it's not all fun and games. There are serious issues, too.
Definitely. Swift introduces two mighty evils. First, internal political division, the Tremexan and Slemexan parties.
Distinguished by the height of their shoe heels. Seriously.
Seriously. High heels versus low heels. It's a direct parody of the trivial differences between the Whig and Tory parties in England at the time, deeply divided over something utterly superficial.
Wow. Okay, Swift wasn't subtle there. And the other evil.
An external threat. They're on the verge of war with the neighboring island empire of Blefuscu.
Another nation of tiny people.
Exactly. So tiny world, big problems. Just like Europe.
What about their laws and customs? Anything stand out?
Some interesting things. They write diagonally across the page from one corner to the other. And they bury their dead head first because they believe the world is flat and at the end of time it will slip over, so they'll be ready to stand up.
Okay, that's different.
But more seriously, their view on crime is telling. They consider fraud a worse crime than theft.
Why is that?
Their reasoning is that you can take precautions against theft, lock your doors, be careful, but honesty has no defense against cunning deception. So, betraying trust is the bigger offense.
That's actually quite insightful. Swift seems to admire some aspects, maybe.
Perhaps their focus on practical morality. They value truth, justice, temperance over, say, sublime genius. They think honesty is more important for governing than brilliance.
And their education system is unusual, too.
Very. They have public nurseries where children are sent from a very young age, like 20 moons old. Parents only get to visit twice a year. Very briefly, under strict rules.
They don't trust parents to raise their own kids?
Basically, yes. They think the state can do a better, more rational job, free from parental indulgence or foolishness. It's very communal, very utilitarian.
Okay, so Gulliver's living amongst all this. Then he gets a chance to be a hero.
He does. The Blefuscudians are preparing to invade Lilliput with a massive fleet.
Massive on their scale, anyway.
Right. Gulliver comes up with this extraordinary stratagem. He wades across the channel between the islands. It's only about waist deep for him.
He must have looked terrifying to the Blefuscudians.
Oh, absolutely. He takes ropes and hooks, attaches them to the warship's anchor cables, cuts the cables, and then just pulls the entire fleet away.
50 warships, just like that.
Just like that, tows them back to Lilliput. He even uses his spectacles to protect his eyes from the thousands of tiny arrows they shoot at him. It's an incredible victory for Lilliput, all thanks to him.
He must have been celebrated. Given medals, parades.
He was, initially, but his fortunes turn. First, there's a fire in the palace, in the Empress's apartments.
And Gulliver helps.
He does, he puts it out. But the way he does it is considered highly improper. Let's just say it involved relieving himself onto the fire.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. It worked, but the Empress is deeply offended, develops this greatest abhorrence for him, and secretly vows revenge.
So saving her life wasn't enough to overlook the method?
Apparently not. And then things get worse. The Emperor wants Gulliver to go back and destroy the rest of the Blefuscudian fleet, basically enslave them.
And Gulliver refuses.
He thinks it's too harsh, too cruel. He argues against it. Plus, he starts communicating with ambassadors from Blefuscu, trying to make peace.
Which looks like treason to the Lilliputians, especially his enemies at court. like the admiral he overshadowed.
Exactly. They draw up articles of treason against him, the proposed punishment, blinding him, putting out his eyes.
Horrible. Just because he wouldn't be their weapon of war and offended the empress.
Pretty much. Politics, jealousy, and wounded pride. A courtier tips him off about the plan.
So what does he do? He can't fight the whole kingdom.
No. Luckily, he'd previously spotted an overturned boat, roughly his size, drifting offshore. He gets permission to visit Blefuscu, ostensibly for a formal visit.
A pretext to escape.
Right. Once in Blefuscu, he finds the boat again, asks their emperor for help fixing it up and permission to leave. The Blefuscu emperor is happy to see him go, especially since Lilliput is demanding his return.
So Blefuscu lets him leave rather than send him back to be blinded.
Yes. They cite his past services to them, ironically. It's his fortunate escape. He sails off in his repaired boat.
And eventually gets picked up by a normal-sized ship.
Yes, and makes his way back home to England. Briefly.
Briefly. He doesn't stay after all that.
Nope. He says his insatiable desire for travel takes over again. He just can't settle down.
Wow. Okay, so he sets off again, and guess what happens?
Another storm, naturally. This time, exploring a new coast, he gets separated from his landing party. They row back to the ship in terror, leaving him behind.
Why were they terrified?
Because they saw a giant. This leads us to part 2, A Voyage to Brobdingnag, the land of giants.
So the complete opposite of Lilliput, now he's the tiny one.
Exactly. The scale is flipped entirely. He's wandering through fields where the corn is like 40 feet high. He sees one of the inhabitants, a huge creature, taking strides 10 yards long.
That must be absolutely petrifying, from being the giant to being an insect almost.
He hides, utterly terrified. But eventually, one of the giant farm workers, a reaper, finds him.
How? Just spots him.
Yeah, nearly steps on him, then picks him up between his thumb and forefinger, holding him 60 feet off the ground.
60 feet. Just dangling there.
Yep. Gulliver tries desperately to speak, makes gestures, even offers the man some gold he has.
Does his gold work?
Nope. The giant farmer just looks at it curiously, has no idea what it is, doesn't value it at all. Another contrast with European values.
So what happens to him? Does the farmer keep him?
The farmer takes him home, treats him like a curiosity, and pretty quickly realizes he can make money off this tiny creature.
Oh no. He puts him on display.
Yes. Takes him around to market towns, charges people to see him perform tricks. Gulliver is exhausted, miserable, constantly in danger. A kid throws a hazelnut at his head, nearly brains him. Rats the size of large dogs attack him.
That sounds like a nightmare. Is there anyone kind to him?
There is. The farmer's daughter. She's 9 years old, but on their scale, she's about 40 feet tall to Gulliver. Her name is Glumdalclitch.
Okay.
She becomes his protector, his nurse, his tutor. She makes him tiny clothes, carries him carefully in a little box she designs, teaches him their language. She's really his lifeline.
That's a touching relationship amidst the horror. Does his situation improve?
Eventually, yes. Word of this miniature marvel reaches the royal court. The queen hears about him and wants to see him.
She buys him, like a pet.
Pretty much. For 1,000 pieces of gold. And thankfully, Glumdalclitch insists on staying with him as his caretaker, so he goes to live at the royal palace.
What's a king like? Is he amazed?
The king is more skeptical and philosophical. Initially, he thinks Gulliver must be some kind of mechanical toy, clockwork.
He doesn't believe he's real.
Not at first. He has his scholars examine Gulliver. He even wonders if he's a splachnock, which is apparently some kind of small animal in their world, though still much larger than Gulliver.
So even their small animals are big to him. Life at court must have been strange.
Incredibly strange. They build him a special little house, like a dollhouse, 16 feet square and 12 feet high. He has tiny furniture made. He eats at the queen's table on a miniature setup.
What's it like watching giants eat?
Kind of disgusting, according to Gulliver. He describes the queen eating the wing of a lark, bones and all, with a loud crunching sound. The sheer scale makes ordinary actions seem grotesque.
And he's not entirely safe even at court, right? There's the queen's dwarf.
Ah, yes. The dwarf is jealous of the attention Gulliver gets. He constantly torments Gulliver, drops him into a bowl of cream, sticks him inside a marrowbone, sets giant wasps on him.
Wasps the size of birds.
Probably. Gulliver actually manages to fight some off with his little sword, which impresses the court. But yeah, constant peril, even from jealousy.
Amidst all this, he has conversations with the king, right? These are pretty important.
Extremely important. Gulliver tries to describe England, its government, its history, its social customs, its wars. He paints it in what he thinks is a glowing light.
How does the king react?
The king listens patiently, asks clarifying questions, and then delivers this absolute devastating judgment. He concludes that Gulliver's people must be the most pernicious race of little odious vermin that nature ever suffered to crawl upon the surface of the earth.
Ouch, that's harsh.
It's Swift's satire at its peak. He's using this wise, rational giant king to hold up a mirror to Europe's corruption, vanity, and violence. Things Gulliver describes proudly, the king sees as barbaric and absurd.
Does Gulliver understand the critique?
Not really. He seems offended, tries to defend his homeland, which leads to another disastrous conversation about gunpowder.
Oh, right. He tries to impress the king with European military technology.
Exactly. He tells the king about this amazing powder that can blow up ships, demolish castles, kill thousands of men instantly. He offers to teach the Brobdingnagians how to make it.
And the king is impressed.
Horrified, absolutely horrified. He calls it a hellish engine and forbids Gulliver from ever mentioning it again on pain of death. He cannot comprehend why anyone would create such a destructive thing.
It really shows the difference in their civilizations. What are the Brobdingnagians like?
They value simplicity and practicality. Their learning focuses on morality, history, poetry, and especially mathematics, but only as it applies to practical things like agriculture and mechanics.
No abstract philosophy.
Very little. Their laws are also very simple and clear, written concisely. They despise complexity and argument for its own sake. The king famously says he values the farmer who can make 2 blades of grass grow where one grew before, more than the entire race of politicians.
A very different set of priorities. So Gulliver's living there, relatively safe with Clothes, but he's not happy.
He's increasingly unhappy. He feels diminished like a pet or a toy. His pride is wounded. He misses being among people his own size, having agency. He longs to leave.
And his escape is, again, kind of accidental and dramatic.
Completely. The court goes on a trip, a progress to the southern coast. Gulliver, in his traveling box, is placed on a windowsill for some fresh air, while Glumdalclitch is away for a moment.
And then?
A giant eagle swoops down, grabs the ring on top of his box with its beak, and flies off with him.
Carried away by an eagle, what happens next? Does it eat him?
No, luckily. Other eagles attack the first one, and in the fight, it drops the box right into the sea.
Back into the ocean. Does he drown in the box?
He thinks he might, but the box floats. He's tossed around for a while, totally helpless inside his wooden room. Until he hears voices and feels the box being lifted. He's rescued by an English ship.
Back to his own kind. What's that transition like? The captain must think he's crazy.
Captain Thomas Wilcox, yes. He hears Gulliver's story. Lilliput, Brobdingnag, and naturally thinks the poor man is raving, delirious from his ordeal.
How does Gulliver convince him?
He has proof. He shows the captain the souvenirs he managed to keep from Brobdingnag.
Like what?
A comb made from the stubble of the king's beard, some giant pins and needles, a gold ring the queen gave him. She used to loop it over his head like a collar, but it's a normal ring for Captain Wilcox. These physical objects prove his story isn't just delusion.
Tangible evidence. But the real change is in Gulliver himself.
Right.
His perspective.
Absolutely. That's the key takeaway. When he first sees his rescuers, the English sailors, his immediate thought is how small they are. He calls them pygmies.
After being around giants for so long.
Exactly. And when he finally gets back home to his family in England, the feeling persists. He says everything looks tiny. The littleness of the houses, the trees, the cattle, and the people.
Can't readjust.
It takes time. He even finds himself stooping down to walk through his own front door because he got so used to the huge scale of Brobdingnag. His perception of normal has been totally warped by these experiences.
So we've followed Lemuel Gulliver on these 2 incredible voyages. Lilliput, where he's a giant, and Brobdingnag, where he's minuscule.
And through it all, Swift is constantly playing with scale, with perspective. It's not just an adventure story. It forces Gulliver and us reading it to question everything we take for granted about size, power, importance.
And the way our own society works. Seeing it reflected, distorted, critique through these fantastical mirrors. Lilliput's petty politics, Brobdingnag's terrifying practicality.
Right. It really hammers home how much our viewpoint shapes our reality. What seems normal or great from one perspective can look absurd or monstrous from another.
It makes you think about how easily we get locked into our own way of seeing things, our own scale.
Definitely. Gulliver's travels are a powerful reminder to try and step outside that, to question our assumptions about what's right, what's important, what's civilized.
So thinking about Gulliver's journey as being huge, being tiny, what really sticks with you? Maybe consider how often we are confined by our own sense of scale, whether that's physical or social or even intellectual. How might stepping into a radically different perspective, even an imaginary one like Swift gives us, change how we see our own world?